Welcome everyone. For the people that haven't been on a webinar before, it's a little bit weird and hard to get used to. And if you think it's weird for you listening to someone talk into your computer, you can only imagine what it's like for me to sit and speak to my computer for an hour. So it's a little bit strange, but it's a great way for us to be able to get some information that costs you nothing, that can go to any part of Australia through the HIA. So it's been a revelation for us really, because we can really, tell a lot of you guys some things that will help you that we may not have been able to reach before. So for those people that haven't been on a webinar with myself before, and like Kerry said, there's a whole heap of resources on the HIA website. There's all the guides, which are absolutely fabulous, and there's also all the recordings of past webinars. So throughout this one, if I'm referring to some of the more marketing type elements of doing your own website, there's a whole heap of webinars that cover that information as well. So you can learn as much as you want to about marketing specifically for the building industry from some of those past webinars as well. But for people who haven't been on a webinar before, I'll quickly introduce us. So firstly, myself, I've been working with builders and trades for a very long time, since about 2006, I think. So we must be going on for 10 years now, only working with builders and trades industries. I originally started out as a business coach, and then I realised along the way that for most small businesses, if they can get the phone ringing, then they can kind of look after everything else themselves. So for me, it all comes back to marketing. If a business is able to control when inquiries come in and who they are and how much they're able to spend, all those sorts of things, then you can kind of look after everything else yourself. But it's that big part of being able to control how much work's coming in that I'm really interested in. So this is the 7th year that I've spoken to HIA members, and it's nearly come to a close. So crossing my fingers, I'm sure we'll be able to rack up year at number 8 next year. And I am now marketing coach for 6 so far, because we only invented it a few months ago, builders and tradies, and that includes people that are changing from carpenters into builders and a lot of those small startup businesses. So today was really about, okay, what can we do for those people that might not be able to spend 3 or 4 grand or 10 grand on a new website. So really excited to be presenting this. Nicola will introduce herself a little bit more when I hand over, but I always say she completely outnumbers me in terms of credentials. Nicola's got a master's in marketing, and she's also done a whole heap of other stuff around digital marketing and coaching and training. So when it comes to being the expert at how to actually teach you guys how to do this stuff, Nicola's definitely probably the best person that I've ever met in my travels that can do that. So Nicola also does the project management for all of our website reviews. So between myself and herself, we can probably tell you all of the things that all of the good builders out there are doing that are attracting the clients to their websites. So a good combination, hopefully. In terms of Elemental Solutions, which is my business, we only work with the builders and trades industries, and we only do a few things, which is mainly give advice. So we don't go ahead and build the websites ourselves. We don't go ahead and run AdWords campaigns ourselves. We don't, the way I said, we don't double dip with that stuff. We give you advice and we can refer you to people, but we like to stay independent, so that if, say, the web designer's not doing the right thing by you, or the AdWords person or whatever, that we're kind of going to bat for you as your marketing department. So it's all about advice with us. Any questions about that, just type them over to Kerry. If I don't make sense, if you need translating, please type that over to Kerry, especially if we get technical once Nicola takes over and you don't understand something, please just type that straight through to Kerry, because there'll be heaps of people that are feeling the same way, so we can quickly come back and explain it to you in better English. So just for me, a website to me is the best thing. So the internet is the best thing that happened to small business for me, and what it does for small business is it gives you the exact equal chance to appear professional and contemporary and be an expert as it does the big guys. A website is the same size place on the internet whether you're a small company or a big company, and so for me what it does is it gives small family businesses that instant credibility that you're able to show off your awards, or you're able to show off your team, or you're able to show off your work, and you can look equally as professional and equally as credible as a competitor that could be 10 times your size. So it creates this level playing field where if you want to specialise in a particular type of work, you can. It doesn't matter that you might be a smaller team. As long as you can deliver that quality work, you're just as entitled to it as a bigger builder. So what is it? It's a level playing field. Instant credibility. You can do all the credibility work on your website. So by the time the customer speaks to you, they already think they want to deal with you. So you can meet a client in person and be as humble as you like because the website's done all the bragging for you, and that can be a really good thing for a lot of builders and tradies. Existence, if you're not on the internet, if you don't have a website, you don't exist. And if you come to this webinar, there's a good chance you don't have a website, so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That if a client goes to Google your business name and you don't come up, in their mind you could be out of business, you could not exist, you could just be a single person on your own who's hung out a shingle, could be any of those things. You find your website also becomes your online information brochure and your online gallery, so that when you're talking to clients or you're going to meet an architect or you're even recruiting tradies, looking for someone to hire, you can send them all to your website and say, look, go to my website, have a look at some of the work, read about us, etc., etc. So it becomes this reference point that you don't have to be explaining things over and over again. You don't have to give out printed brochures. You don't have to get a customer on the phone and go, oh, okay, let me tell you about us, because they will have already read about that on the website. So as well as being marketing, it can actually save you a heap of time, and it can also mean that the wrong people find out a bit more about you before they call, so they never call you. So you head them off at the pass that way. And lastly, of course, your website is a lead generator, which means that if you need more inquiries to then turn into more quotes, to then turn into more jobs, your website becomes a place that you can turn the tap on and get people to come to that website that will then turn into inquiries. So really for me, all of your marketing for any size business, but particularly with a small business, starts with having a website, which is why it's so exciting to be able to bring this to you today and show you how to do your own website if you don't have that budget to go out there and spend what some of the other builders are spending getting their website done. So just a tiny bit more from me on what to do before you start looking at the structure of the site. And for me, that's because it's really important. It's exactly the same as when you guys are building your own projects. It's really important to have the plan first. And if you just start throwing things up and make a website that looks good, that's fine. But if you have a plan first about the types of things that you want the website to do, you're going to find that it's going to be a million times more effective. And as Nicola will show you, it's actually heaps easier to build it if you already know what you want it to do. You know, it answers all those questions for later as well. So the first part really is, and if you listen to the webinar, you'll get this in a lot more detail, but the first part of doing your own website or doing any marketing at all is to find out what sort of people do I want to work for and what are the things that are important to them. And so for a lot of you, that is just a case of going and asking your top 10 or 20 clients what was important to you when you were choosing to work with me. Because the people that you've already dealt with that have been easy to work with, you've liked the work, they've made a good profit margin, those are the sorts of people that you want to replicate. So you just go back to those people. Sometimes we get an independent telemarketer to call them if it's like embarrassing to call them or whatever. And you go back to those people and you find out what are the things that are most important to them and why did they choose you in the first place. And that's a really quick way of going, okay, now I know exactly what are the things that I need to highlight when I do my website. 10 things that your website must do, and these are all what we base our website review on. So it's not about it looking nice, it's not about it sounding nice, it's not about all the buttons working, it's about does the website make you seem credible, does the website tell people what you do, does the website match your work. And so this is the thing that's most important to me, that if you build modern contemporary work, then your website needs to look modern contemporary. If you build heritage work, then your website needs to look heritage. But more than that, if you are high-end, your website needs to look high-end. So basically I want someone, if they walk through one of your homes, or they meet you in person, or they go to your website, that they get the same feeling from each of those. And if you just think about it in terms of that, I want them to look at my website and go, oh yeah, they're contemporary and they're really high quality and they're obviously, you know, really pay attention to detail. Well, those things should be the same in your marketing, like your website, and also in your projects. We have a free guide that goes through each of those 10 points in a lot more detail. So if you listen to the webinars, you'll get that. If you would rather have it in a PDF form, just email us to the details that we'll give you at the end and we can give you a copy of that. And the last thing that's really important to me is to curate your images. And I've just come off looking at a website review where I'm going to say exactly that. that you don't have to put all the photos of all of your work on your website. So a big part of the planning before you start doing your own website is to go through all of the images of your work and curate them the same way that an art gallery is going to curate all the best of their images. And what you're looking for is you're looking for the images that show the kind of work that you want to do more of. You don't need to show lots of different angles of the same thing. You don't need to show lots and lots and lots of close-ups of features like staircases and door furniture and things like that, unless that's something that's a talking point for you. What you want to do is you want to be able to give your clients a kind of a montage of all of the best of you. So when they come to your website and they see your images, they go, oh, yeah, I'm the right sort of client for them, or no, I'm not. And so for me, that can make life really easy when you don't think that you have to put 2,000 photos of all different angles of every project on your website. Just pick out the best ones. And so really that's the preparation side of it. And like I said, some of the webinars go into a lot more detail about that. But the most important thing is to know what sort of work you're after. And it can be whatever you want. That's the beauty of the internet. Know what sort of work you're after. Know what's important to those people, and then look at what you have in terms of the story about you and then the images that you have of your work, and pick out the best of those things. And once you have those ingredients, it doesn't kind of matter how you mix them up, it's going to make an awesome website. So what I'm going to do is get Kerry to hand over to Nicola, and she's going to get straight into showing you exactly how to go about building your own website using some of those free services.
Okay, great. Thanks, Catherine. I'll click a few buttons now and see how we go.
Great.
Hey, Nicola.
Hi, thank you.
No problem. I will mute myself and I'll let you get started.
Thanks, Kerry, and thank you to Catherine. So just going on what Catherine said, although that was a very nice introduction, I have been doing webinars and marketing for small businesses for a very long time. I love working with small businesses, particularly on digital marketing. I find that it's somewhere where you can get great results and for a really small spend. So that's why Catherine and I both agree that once you've got your website up and going, everything else just goes from there. So I'll hopefully don't move too quick, but I'll keep in mind that yeah, we've only got the hour to go. So getting started, you've got a few different options. We've got the Weebly, Wix, Squarespace and Jimdo options. Now these are all web-based. They're all free to some extent and very easy to use. It's basically like using your own Word document. The pros of these are that the domain name registration is included in your payment. The hosting is also included in these packages. They're really low monthly cost, so from about $4 a month for your basic package. There's lots of free templates provided. Once you've chosen what template you want to use, it's so easy just to drag and drop options in there, edit them, and so on. They're all mobile friendly, which I'll get to later in the presentation, but this is critical for websites. And they all have customer support. So depending on the hosting package that you choose, you could have email support, chat support, or phone support. When people are first starting out, I think that it's great to have that phone support where you can just pick it up, ask any questions that you've got, and they can help you over the phone rather than just the email support. Some of the cons is around SEO, so which is search engine optimization. With some of them, it's limited or non-existent at all. So you might have a great website, but the people that are finding you are only the ones that get it off your business card or signage that they've seen or know your name. So they're not just finding you randomly through Google. If you choose the free package, it means there's ads displayed on your site, and this might not seem like a big deal, but you've got no control over those ads. So anything could be displayed on there, and it also can drive traffic away from your site. So someone could see an ad come up, nothing relevant to them, but they'll click on it anyway, and then next thing they're sort of down in someone else's site looking around rather than yours. A limited number of menu options, so some of them, depending on the package you choose, have only got one level of menus, which is basically the About Us, services, that sort of thing. Some of them have got two levels where you could have About Us and then testimonials underneath that, which is the drop down. But you don't get any more than the two. So if you wanted to have 4 or 5 pages listed under an About Us, which is one of the things that we recommend, you wouldn't be able to do that with these. If you outgrow your site, which a lot of you will outgrow it once you start noticing the leads that you're getting through and realise how valuable it is, you can't take it with you. So all the work that you've done, you can copy and paste the text into Word documents, but you can't actually take any of your site design, so you've basically got to start from scratch. It's very hard to customise if you don't like the template. So you might choose a template but decide there's components of it that you would like to display differently. You can't actually make any of those changes. Once you've chosen the template, again, you can't change it. So you can't start setting up your site in one template, decide that you don't like the look of it or it doesn't match your brand properly. You can't change it to another one down the track. This is also a bit of a catch for when they release new templates. A lot of people see the new ones being released and get really excited because they do all new fancy things, but they can't transfer over. The customer support, although it's brilliant, sometimes it's different time zones. So the one that I found has the best customer support seems to be Squarespace, because they are available on the phone when you're actually working. And hard to find local developers to help. So if you go down this path, it can sometimes be a little bit tricky to find someone local to come to your office and help you out. In saying that, because they are so simple, once you play around with it for a while, you sort of don't need the help that you do with some of the other platforms. So the other DIY option, which is our preferred option and the one that I'll go through today, is actually WordPress.org. Now it's very important. There's the two different WordPresses, WordPress.org and WordPress.com. WordPress.com does have a free hosting, but that's more for bloggers and people that don't really need their own customised domain. So the domain name would be www.yourdomain.wordpress.com in a WordPress.com site. So we always like to go for the WordPress.org. You'll see really flexible and you can do lots and lots of things with it. So some of the things to consider is that you have to have your own domain and own host. There's thousands and thousands of themes, both free and paid, because WordPress is one of the largest website building platforms. You'll find that there are so many developers out there that are creating themes and plugins and that sort of thing, and we'll go through those a little bit further down the track as well. You can change the theme at any time and not lose your site. So particularly in the building phase of it, you might try 5 or 6 different themes to find the one that you think works the best for you and for your customer. It doesn't matter, you're not going to lose any of the work that you've already done. Plenty of local developers and trainers to help you with WordPress. You'll find that most agencies that offer any sort of web design usually focus on WordPress, so you usually can find some help there. You are able to design a fully customised site, so you might decide to go to a graphic designer and they will design everything based around your logo, colouring and everything. So they design a template specifically for you. This is, I guess, not so much a DIY option because there is a lot of coding and graphic design that goes into there, but it is something that can be done. So if you found 12 months down the track that you wanted something a little bit more in line with your branding and the direction that your business is going, you can definitely get that customised yourself. There's no restrictions on capabilities, so you can have as many menu items as you like. You can add a shop front where people can make payments. You can have newsletter sign-ups, forms, basically anything that you've seen on a website before, you're able to do within WordPress. It's the most popular option for both large and small users, so it is very scalable depending on the size of your business, and it's really easy to SEO it. So we'll get into the more technical stuff of getting online. So if you decide that WordPress is the way for you, there's 7 easy steps for you to go through. So first of all, you've got to buy a domain, organise hosting, work out the website structure, load WordPress into a cPanel, choose a template, upload plugins and start creating. So I'll go through these steps one by one just so that you know what to expect there. So buying a domain, you can go onto websites such as Crazy Domains, GoDaddy, any of those, and I've got a screenshot here of their homepage. Basically all you have to do, where it says register your domain name, you just type in your domain name or the proposed one that you've got and search, and it'll tell you if it's available. It'll also give you all the other options, so the .com, the .net, .net.au, anything that's available, they'll let you know. They'll also tell you if something's on back order, which means that it's not actually registered, but somebody has it and it's in that grey period where the registration has lapsed, but they've got sort of that cooling off period to re-sign it. So it'll tell you that if you order something on back order, my experience is that probably 8 out of 10 times you'll get it within the next week. Getting hosting, there are a few options. So these are the ones on the screen here are the big 10 that most people use. And in that price column at the very end is how much it costs per month. Now you'll see that those fees are really low. You don't really get great support for those prices, and also you don't get a lot of availability for traffic or for larger sites. So you just need to ask a few questions when you're choosing a host. So is it going to cope with large amounts of traffic? Is it going to cope with a lot of images? Because being builders, you want to make sure that you've got plenty of images on there and that your site's really attractive, like Catherine said. My preferred option, if you can do it, is to host locally. So it does often cost you a little bit more. I think at the moment, I know they're probably about $12 to $15 a month. Some of them ranging, you know, they'll do an annual package for between 150 and 200 a year, but you find that you've got support all the time. Now, most of these locals do actually outsource the host to one of these big 10, but they're dealing with any of the complaints that you've got, or if your site crashes, you can get on the phone, someone's in the same time zone as you and can fix it immediately. Whereas with any of these other 10, you could get on the phone to them, find that their customer service isn't working while we're working, and then there's a delay. So my preference is that if you know of a local host, that you go through there. The other thing to consider is, rather than registering your domain name, check its availability through a site such as Crazy Domains. Go to your local host and ask them to register the domain along with the hosting package, because sometimes they'll give you a good deal on that. So deciding on site structure, I've put that as step 3 because it is really critical that you've got your site structure worked out before you actually start doing anything to do with your site. So it's much easier to pre-plan it and work out what pages that you want rather than adding them in at the last minute. Having a clear strategy, like Catherine explained, what purpose is your site going to do, who are you trying to attract, and what sort of sales are you wanting from there. So the more investigation you can do on what your customers want to know, the better. So thinking about any inquiries that you get via the phone, what sort of things are they asking all the time? What's the trend that you're noticing from people about what they actually want to know from you? Make sure that's really easy to find on your website. One of the things that we often do is sit down and go through an actual marketing strategy, with our clients and work out website structure, what needs to be on there, and also, I guess, a plan into the future on how you can grow. So if you have an initial website that you want to just get up and running within a few days, that's great. But if you can think about down the track how you'd like to improve the website and grow it as you start getting more traffic through, that also really helps too, so that you've got a stage 1 and stage 2 implementation. Okay, so here is where it gets a bit tricky, and hopefully I don't lose you on this. Basically, when you get your host, they will give you some login details, which will be for this cPanel. Some of them use different ones, but cPanel is the majority of the time the one that's used. So you use your login details and it'll bring up this screen. This is like, I guess, where everything is for your website. So where you can add additional email accounts. So you might have your own personal email account, then you might have an info @ or an admin one, or one for other staff members. So you can add that through here. You can also do your backups or anything like that. So there's not, although there is heaps and heaps of information on here, you don't actually use a lot of it. You only use a couple of things. So this is also where you install WordPress onto your host. So down the bottom of the screen, you'll notice a big red circle which says Installation Applications Installer. What you would do is you would click on this one, and it's going to bring up Apps for Content Management. So content management is the back end of your website where everything's done. You'll notice WordPress is the first one that comes up. That's because it's the most popular. Joomla, which is the third one, is also quite popular but very difficult to navigate through, so which is why most people will choose WordPress. Now this does look quite tricky, and it can be. If you're hosting local, most of the time they will do this part for you, but I'm just giving you a bit of an idea so that if you do go down one of the other paths, you know where to find things. So you would just click on the WordPress icon, and then it's going to install it onto your site. So from there you get to choose the theme. So basically what the theme is the look and feel of your website, as well as the functionality. So every website that you go and visit has a common theme or template, whether it be customised or one that's been purchased or downloaded for free. And choosing themes is quite easy, but very time consuming, because you'll get lost looking at the different ones and checking them out, because they all have demo sites. So in this process, Google will be your best friend. The best thing to do, you can type in top 10 WordPress themes for 2014, top 10 free WordPress themes for 2014, anything like that, and it's going to give you hundreds and hundreds of options for themes. The free ones can be just as good as paid ones in some cases, particularly if you're just wanting to get something up and running. So have a look at some of the free ones, and you might find that they're going to work really well for you. Most of the paid ones you're going to get for under $100 as well, so they're not that expensive in the overall scheme of things. Always check reviews and support for the company that you're choosing. So most of the time when you type in WordPress themes, only reputable companies are going to come up, but occasionally one might slip in there. So when I say support, what I mean is that you get documentation for the theme, and that also someone is available. Usually it's via email, but that you can log in and you can ask any questions. So if something went wrong with your site, there's somewhere that you can go and ask a question. It's often easier to get the person who developed the theme to help you than an external person, because they know the ins and outs of the theme. So your theme is a personal choice as long as it ticks all the sales boxes. So again, just going back to what Catherine said, as well as some of the other webinars that she's done, just making sure that your sales funnel is very clear and it's ticking all the boxes there. So once you've installed WordPress, it'll come up with this screen. So this is also the web address that you would use at any time to log into your website to make changes. So it's always going to be www.yoursitename.com.au or .com or .net, whatever it is that you've chosen, /WP/admin. So the admin panel is where everything happens in your site. So no one else can access that, it's only for you, and you've got to put in a username and password there. When you're setting up your username and password, it's advisable not to use a username such as admin, because when people are trying to hack into your site, that's the first thing that they're going to choose. So using different usernames, so perhaps not your business name either, but just something that is relevant to you, and then the password, making sure that it's sort of a strong password rather than just something standard. From there, you'll come up with the dashboard. So the dashboard's going to look different depending on the site that you're in. Most of the time it looks like this, but if you've got a blog set up, it might have some blog posts on here or different information, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to look similar to this. You'll always have that panel down the side with the different options such as home, updates, posts, media, that sort of thing. So you'll notice down the side there, you've got under dashboard, post, media, halfway down you've got appearance. This is where all your themes are kept. So when you've chosen your theme and you downloaded it, it would have downloaded as a zip file. What you need to do is you need to keep it as a zip file. So don't unzip it because WordPress wants you to upload it as a zip. So you just go to the Add Themes section. You'll notice on this page there's actually a few themes that have to come up, which are free ones that you could activate and load. So while you're looking around for themes, once you've installed WordPress, you could go in and see what comes up in your WordPress backend already, because you could just activate one of those. Otherwise, if you have chosen one online, you just click up the top where it says Upload Theme, and it's going to bring you to this Add Themes screen. So what you do at this screen, it says Choose File. You just choose the zip file that you've saved on your computer. Now, some computers will automatically unzip the file when they download it, particularly if you're using a Mac. So just make sure that you zip it back up again, otherwise the website won't install. So once you've chosen the file, just click on Install Now and it'll automatically run. So then we go on to plugins. So what plugins are is they make tasks easier on your website. They support the theme and they can cause site issues. So what you want to do is each time you upload a plugin, upload one at a time, go back, preview your site to make sure that there's nothing wrong, and then go back in and load the new ones. When you're choosing plugins, choose higher ranking ones rather than low ones. And again, if you Google the best plugin for a particular task, so it might be a photo gallery or something like that, Google will give you the highest ranking ones there as well. So here are the top free plugins that I think every site should start with, and I have run all of these on a site without having any clashes, so you should be right with just uploading all of these. I'll go through them just to give you a bit of an idea. So under construction, WP, that's one that you activate while you're building your site. So while you're uploading your theme and customizing all your pages and everything, you have under construction activated, which means people can't see what you're doing with the site. So they will type in your web address and it'll come up with an under construction screen. The best thing about this is you can do anything that you like. No one's going to notice. You can change themes 5 or 6 times. You can pull pages down, put pages up, fiddle around with images and that sort of thing, and nobody knows. So that one's highly recommended. It also stops Google checking your site and finding a heap of errors. So that's going to be good for your ranking longer term. WordPress SEO for Yoast. This one is the strongest SEO plugin that on the market at the moment. The other one is all-in-one SEO, but I find that this one is quite easy. So what the WordPress SEO plugin allows you to do is you can actually choose keywords, type them into this plugin, and it will basically tell you how Google's going to rank it. So whether it's good content, it's okay content, or it's not good content at all. So it gives you a green, orange, or a red. Again, this will make a little bit more sense once we cover SEO, but I think something like this is critical for making sure that the copy that you're putting onto your website registers with search engines. Google Analytics by Yoast, again, it's not the only one out there, but I find that it's good and it complements the SEO plugin. This one allows you just to check what sort of traffic is coming to your site, where it's coming from, and all those sorts of important stats. Rather than having to go through your Google Analytics account, it'll actually display it in your dashboard, so you can look at it at a glance, and it just sort of picks the key reports that you need to know. Backup Buddy is great. What you can do is to set regular backups of your site. Now, you might not think this is that important, but if your site crashed or it was hacked, or you made some changes that you couldn't fix, you can go back to the backup and restore from there. So the Backup Buddy actually saves the backup in a cloud rather than with your host. So it means that even if you were going to transfer hosts down the track, you've got a full backup that you can take with you. W3 Total Cache. Again, this is just a completely technical one. You don't need to know anything about it other than the fact that it helps your site run faster, which is something that's great for search engines and for user experience. So just putting that on and activating it, you don't actually have to do anything else, just turn it on and it'll do its thing in the background. Floating social bar, that one's just going to help you with sharing any of your content on social media. So if someone came along and looked at some of your images, really liked them, wanted to share them with their friends to say, check out this kitchen, I really want this in my house, or look at this builder, they can click on share and then type in a quick comment and it'll post to their social media account. Opt-in Monster is great. That one is for when you go to a website and you get the pop-up asking you to subscribe to a newsletter and giving you a little free gift. That's the plugin that I guess is the most stable there that you can use. So this is a little bit down the track when you're starting to attract more sales and trying to build your newsletter list. This one's perfect for that. Enviro Gallery. Now, put a little asterisk next to this one because it's not one I personally use all the time, but it's great for builders. What this one will do is it creates those really fancy image galleries. You can have them segmented into different categories. You could have an image gallery per project, or you could have different types of projects, that sort of thing. It'll also make sure that your images are optimized for viewing on the web. And they're really customizable. So that one's really great for builders there. And then the last one is Login Lockdown. Now this one, again, it just works in the background. It basically is set so that if someone tries to log into your website a certain number of times and it fails, that then their IP address is locked from your site. So it means that hackers, they might try 4 or 5 times. On the 6th time they get locked and they can't get back in there. So that one's great as well. So the way to install a plugin, it's quite easy as well once you sort of get the hang of it. You can click on the plugins section down the side, which I've circled, and then up the top you've got Add New. So it's just simply going to plugins and then add new. What you see on this screen is the plugins that are already on there, and then they're either blue or red, so whether they're activated, need updating, or deactivated. With the plugins, you've got 2 options. If you've downloaded a plugin from an external site, you can go to the first option up the top, which is Upload Plugin, which is done the same way that you upload a theme. I don't recommend this because any of the really good plugins that you need are going to already be within WordPress. So that's why the second option, where I've circled where it says search plugins. You can type the plugin name in there and it's going to come up. So that's the preferred option because it's already in there and it's much easier to work this way, and plus you know what you're getting rather than an external plugin that may not be as reliable as what you'd like. So you'll see here I've typed in WordPress SEO for Yoast. Down the bottom corner, Yoast SEO has come up and it's got a little install button next to it. It's also got more details under there, so if you wanted to, like with the keywords, if you put in that you were looking for an image gallery, you might get 20 different plugins come up. You can click on more details and it'll tell you a little bit, give you some screenshots, and you'll get to know whether or not you think that's the look and feel that you want for your gallery. So you just click on install now and it'll come up with a screen like this, which is downloading the package. And then where I've circled there, you basically just click on activate plugin and then it's done. So this is what you're doing when you're doing new plugins. Click activate plugin, double check that your website's still working properly, click on a few pages and a couple of features just to make sure that it's not just one little tiny bug, and then you can go back and install more. So by this stage now you've got your plugins installed and you've got your theme installed. Next you want to go to customizing your theme. Now I haven't gone into a lot of detail with customizing the themes because every theme is going to be different, but basically what you do is under appearance, go to themes, you'll see the theme that you've got installed there, click on customize, and it's just going to come up with the screen with changing fonts, colors, that sort of thing, uploading your logo. Again, it steps you through step by step and it's a really easy process. There's nothing you can really break. So the good thing with WordPress is that even if you did break something, you can always go backwards. So you don't have to be scared to play around with things. When you're building a website, you might change the color 25 different times till you find the right one, and it makes no difference to your site. So now we're at the critical point of adding pages. So this is where you refer back to your plan, because what you want to do here is add the pages that you've already decided on your site menu. So on the side you've got pages. There's two buttons, all pages and add new. What you have here is a list of all the pages that are already in your website, whether they're published or whether they're saved as a draft. You'll see with this example, all of the pages are published. Then to add a new page, you just go up to the top where it says add new and click on that button. Then you're going to have a screen that'll come up which says add new page. You've got a couple of different boxes, and you'll see that this looks a little bit like a Word document where you can choose fonts, you can choose whether something's bold or in italics, colour, how it's justified, that sort of thing. So this is where it does become a little bit easier for people, especially if you're used to using Word documents. So up the top we put the page name for the menu. So this is the name that you've decided you want displayed in your menu. So it could be about us, it could be services, or it could be anything like that. So you put the name in there, and then down the bottom you can put in the body information. So this is your copy, any images that you wanted to add, anything like that goes in the bottom box below. Then over on the other side you've got a couple of options. The preview button, so what you can do before you save anything, you can preview it to see whether or not you like the look of the page. It opens up in a new window so you can have a look at it, click any links to make sure that they work. If you're happy with it, go back to this original page and publish. If you're not quite ready, you can click on Save Draft, so all of the work that you've done is saved, but nobody can see it until you've physically clicked on the Publish button. So this is good if you've got a new service that you're about to release or a new product or something like that. You can be prepared, have it all done on the web page, saved as a draft, and then on the actual launch day, you publish it. You can delay. You can actually set something to publish at a certain time, but I won't go into those details now because I don't want to confuse you too much. So you'll see here, this is the preview of what I've done. So you'll notice that all of the copy and the page name is displayed there on a template that was already pre-chosen when we chose the theme. So then, to make sure that your menu looks the way that you wanted, you've uploaded all of the pages that you want. You go down to Appearance, and then under Appearance, you'll see that there's a little button that says Menus. So when you click on Menus, it's going to bring up the first box where it says Most Recent, and then it's got all of the page names. That's basically all of the pages on your website. So what you can do there is just select all and add to menu, which takes them all into the second box, which is menu structure. From here, you just drag and drop things where you want them. So if you want something as a main menu item, you'll notice here it's got Home and About Us are listed, and they're right along the edge. Underneath that, you've got History, Philosophy, and all the other pages, and you'll see that they're just tabbed in a little bit. So you can drag and drop pages to become sub-menu items, or they could be main menu items, or they could be a sub-menu of the sub-menu. So depending on the way that you want your menu to display, this is where you do it. Once you've done that and you're happy, you just click on Save Menu, and it's going to come across back to the original. You see at the top we've got Home, About Us. If you clicked on that About Us, it would have a drop down with a few different menu items on there. And again, it's fully customizable. So you might do it, have a look at it, think, oh no, I don't really like the way that is. You can go back into the menu and drag things around until you are happy with it. Next, we can add images. So I guess the trickiest thing here is that images are actually called media. So that's where most people get stuck, because they are looking at how to add images and they can't find Add Images button. So just keep in mind that images are called media. When you click on the media button on the side, it comes up with a library. So in here you have any images, any video, any sound, anything that you want to upload to your website, it's all saved within here. So uploading images is really easy. You just, in your media section, upload new media, and it's just either a drag and drop or a select file. So if you wanted to drag and drop, you just open up your Windows one where your file is, select all of the files and drag them into that little square, or you can do it manually by selecting files, which will bring up a screen, and you can click on the files you want. There's no minimum number of files that you can pull across, or sorry, no maximum number of files you can pull across in there. So if you already had things worked out into a folder, you could just select that whole folder and drag it across there, and they'll automatically update and go into your image gallery, which will then display like this. From here, you get to put them onto your page. So you can just use that Add Media button there, which is above the bold and italics, and it'll add the media, add an image wherever on the page that you want. So similar to Word, wherever your cursor is, that's where the image is going to go. Once it's on there, same as with Word, you can adjust the size of it, you can center it, you can move it around a little bit, and again, that's fine. You can also link it through to another website or anything like that. So very flexible there. Okay, and then once you've done those things, you can go live. So deactivate the Under Construction button, and then everyone can see your website. So I think we're running out of time for SEO because it is quite another big section. So I'll flick back to Catherine for any questions and to give a bit of a wrap up, and we might just give you some slides with the SEO information on there. Or you can give us a call or an email and we'll happily talk you through it. Okay, Catherine?
Thanks so much, Nicola. I'll just flick over back to my screen, and I think you might be happy with. So we're going to send these slides out to you anyway, which will essentially become a little bit of a manual. So you can look at all the screenshots that Nicola's put together and be able to walk that through as you're setting up your own site. So that was part of the idea of the presentation. Just in summary, I've done a little references guide for you. So some of the terms that Nicola is using you may or may not be familiar with. You've probably heard them around the traps but not 100% sure what they mean. So I've done that for you, and when you get the slides that's automatically going to be in there just to explain what some of those extra terms are. So in summary, we recommend that you use WordPress, and again, like I said, having a plan, work out what you want to achieve. Do you want the website to just be an online gallery for people to go and look at your work? Do you want it to attract leads? Do you want it there so that you can gather testimonials? Do you want it there so that you can appeal to architects? Whatever the purpose of the site is, having that plan and working out the structure beforehand is going to make life so much easier for you when you sit down and start to tinker with WordPress and build the site. WordPress is sort of like the MYOB of websites is the way that I could describe it, although Xero is coming in now, but it's sort of the one that everyone uses, so therefore you can get lots of support. In our guide we have that list of essentials for marketing tips, so there's no reason why when you build your own site you can't still do some of the things that work really well for the sites that people pay for. A lot of the webinars that Kerry's done it, and also the guide that's called, Kerry's from the HIA has done a guide called Getting Your Business Online, and that one goes through all of those basic steps to setting up your website and how to get found online as well. Once your website's built, there's a misconception that you build this awesome, sexy site that shows off all your work and then that lots of people will come and look at it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. It's a bit like building an awesome house and then waiting for people to come visit. So once you have your website, make sure you invite people over, send emails to your clients, let them know, put it on social media, Facebook, things like that, and maybe even pay for some advertising so people can find your site. And these things, like Nicola said, you definitely outgrow them. Most of the businesses I work with outgrow their website every couple of years, plus technology changes, so make sure you review your site to keep it fresh. Just to wrap up, before we go to questions, if you really do want to do your own website but you feel that this is all a bit daunting, I have swindled Nicola to actually doing a hands-on workshop. So the details of that are there, or the website address. It's only for HIA members, so please don't let anyone else know. And if you definitely don't want to do your own website after hearing Nicola, we have put together a lower budget price. So if anyone's listened to a webinar of ours before, you'll know that we've only been able to offer to help with websites around the $4,000 mark, but I have started working with a new development company. So this is all just referring you to a website company that then works under my guidance of the sorts of things that we ask for the industry. So if you want to know more about that, please feel free to email us, but that will be in the slides as well. So we'll have Nicola and I both on the line. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask us now, type them through to Kerry.
Okay, Garth asked, when choosing a theme, is it difficult to tell how much is customisable?
Nicola, are you on to answer that one?
Yeah. So with that, when you choose a theme, what you're looking for in a theme is as many of the components that you actually want. So because there are so many different themes, you want one that's as close as possible to what you want, rather than having to customize too much. But then once you've actually downloaded it, there's so many things that every theme has that can be customized, like fonts, image sizes, layouts. A lot of themes will give you, say, 10 or 12 different options for page layouts, that sort of thing, as well as a colour scheme and everything. So when you actually are Googling to look for a theme, they'll usually have a demo site that you can flick through, and that'll give you a really good indication about the functionality and what you get for that theme.
Okay, great. Paul's asked, how do you find a good local host? And I guess by local you mean within Australia?
Within Australia, or a lot of different larger cities have their own hosts. So there's one, I know there's lots of them in Melbourne, but there's some in Geelong, there's some in Gippsland. Basically, they're going to be called internet providers. If you Googled internet providers within where you are, most of the time someone local will come up. If they don't do hosting there, they'll be able to direct you to somebody that does, that they work with. Otherwise, yeah, an Australian host is better. And again, we didn't get to cover search engine stuff, but hosting in Australia is critical to getting good exposure within Australia with Google, which is very important when you're actually working in regions.
Yeah, we touched on search engine optimization. I guess it's a quite a big topic, and you were mentioning how it's changed a little bit from, I guess, what we thought of previously. Nicola, I was wondering if you could maybe just touch on that. You're talking about how keywords and things like that aren't as important anymore.
Yeah, so in 2012, Google did a new update called the Penguin update, which basically changed the whole way that search engine optimization worked. So instead of just relying on keywords to rank sites, they've now come up with a lot of other things that Google wants to see before they'll rank you, because they were finding that there were so many spammy sites where people would just put popular keywords in there to get rankings, but they'd have no relevance. So the three things that Google's checking for is authority, trust and relevance. So trust keeps the high quality sites on top. What this is like how many people are following your, linking to your site. So if you had, I guess, government sites and also other trustworthy sites linking back to your web address, that is going to build trust. Also not having, some people will buy backlinks or sort of buy some dodgy SEO services. That will make Google blacklist you and they won't be happy, and your trust level will drop. Authority, it used to be the #1 thing that Google looked for, but it's now #2. This is purely a numbers game. So it's looking at how many social media followers you have, how many backlinks to your site through social media, through other websites, checking the quality of the sites as well, so nothing too spammy, making sure that every backlink isn't to the exact same page. So this is really critical when you're setting up your social media, and also sending out posts on social media. Don't always link back to your homepage. You know, link back to your About Us page, link back to your gallery, link back to your testimonials. Make sure that you're linking to multiple pages within your site, not just the one. And then relevance. So this is where, you know, we're still looking at keywords. So making sure that you are optimized with your keywords, but also now Google doesn't just look for your set keywords, it also looks for complementary keywords. So it's looking for phrases that it thinks should accompany a keyword. So to say your keyword was builders in Melbourne, it would also look for phrases that it thinks complements that. So there are a lot of reports that we run when we're doing search engine optimization for businesses, which will give you lists of keywords, most popular ones that are most popular but don't have much competition around them, and then also complementary words to support those. So it's quite complicated, but once you've got it set up properly, it's great. So the first thing to think of is, if you're about to launch a site, make sure you build a lot of this SEO stuff in there. So, you know, we can help you with, if you've written copy for your site, we can help you tweaking it to making sure that you've got the right keywords in there, and that your Yoast plugin is working in the back end. Or you could pay someone to write you some good SEO content. So just make sure that when you are planning, the SEO is included in your initial plans.
Oh, just on that, I had a question from Monica. So where do you find some decent writers?
Well, we can certainly help you with that. Otherwise, there are a lot of, like a lot of agencies will have writers as well. or you might have, like a lot of bloggers do some ghostwriting too. So, you know, there are a lot of different places that you can find them, but if you needed an initial start, we can certainly help you with that.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions, but I realise that we're just past the hour, so if people do have to rush off, I just want to say thank you for joining us. Definitely have a look at, we mentioned a couple of other programs, the Weebly and Wix Jimdo, that they're also worth a look at. They're a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit easier to use than the WordPress, but WordPress is a better system to use if you plan to expand in the future, and there's a lot more you can do with it. I guess, would you agree with that, Nicola? The other ones are probably a bit easier in that you can drop and drag initially.
Yes, yeah. So there's none of that initial setup stuff that I had to go through with the cPanel and all that sort of thing. You don't have to worry about that with the Wix and the Weebly. WordPress does have drop and drag templates, but you do just have to get to the point where you're actually using that.
Yeah, there's a little bit more work up front with the WordPress, but in the long term, it's a website that can grow with you, and it's something that you will be able to expand in the future if you need to. Greg's got a question. Is it easy to do any updates to plugins or new versions of WordPress once you're up and running? And how do you know what's relevant?
So it's absolutely really easy to do updates, because what will happen is WordPress will tell you that there is an updated version, and then you just click on a button that says update and it'll automatically update it for you. So yeah, it's great. As soon as a theme or any of the plugins or the actual WordPress backend updates, you get notified and you can select to upgrade it at any point. I do recommend, however, doing a quick backup before you do any updates, because it has been known that occasionally there'll be an update and sites can crash after doing it. So just always make sure you've got a backup handy in case that did happen.
Okay, I think I'm just getting to the end of my questions, so if anybody's got one, just quickly type it in now and we will get to those. SEO, Mel suggested perhaps we have a webinar just on SEO, so that might be something we need to look at. And something else we've been talking about is doing a webinar on some social media and sort of a beginners and intermediate on social media. So if that's something that, if you're interested in that, just let me know. It's k.wilson@hia.com.au. Catherine, did you have anything else to add? I can't hear Catherine, so
sorry, Kerry, I just did a long speech there with myself muted.
Oh, I've done that in the past, as you know.
Look, what I said is I just want to congratulate everyone that is on the webinar, because even just to be thinking ahead, to think, well, I might be a small business, but I need to be looking at getting myself a website so that I am out there in the world is a big thing. So don't let yourself be too daunted. There is lots of free ways to get advice. YouTube is a great resource for demos of how to do things. Any of these free sites is going to be better than not having one, or just having a home improvements pages listing or a Yellow Pages listing. So thank you very much for jumping on, and if we can help you with any questions, we're more than happy to do that. And we'll look at webinars for any parts of that process that you want to know in more detail, definitely. Or of course you can come along to the workshop. Yeah,
definitely. So what I'd suggest is have a look at WordPress, load it, perhaps watch this webinar again once it's loaded up. Do it step by step. At first it might have seemed a little bit daunting, as Nicola said. I've built some websites myself on WordPress, so happy to help out if anybody has any questions. I'm not at the level that Nicola and Catherine are at, but I might be able to help you out with some of the basic stuff. But definitely just watch it step by step and just take your time. pre-plan. That's always a good way to go. And I just mentioned, yeah, Greg's just asked, is there a record? Yes, I'm recording the webinar. So what I'll be doing is sending a link to everybody to let you know when it's ready so that you can re-watch this. And there'll also be a copy of the slides, and I'll also include a copy of some information sheets I have. So I actually have one on some of those other programs as well. So yeah, sorry, Garth's just asked, is there a way to have a go at using WordPress without having a host first?
Unfortunately not, unless you know someone that's got a WordPress site, and we'll let you have a bit of a play around with the back of it. You could do a WordPress.com site because functionality is pretty much the same, so you could set up a free one there. Just don't use your proper domain name, put in like a test domain name so you don't lose the one that you want. But yeah, you could actually do it that way.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, have a play around, and then you can get an idea if it's the way you want to go, and without having to pay up front for some hosting. If anybody's
so the templates won't be as good.
No, that's right.
Yeah, it'll be more blog related. Yeah, but it'll give you a good idea anyway.
Yeah, if anybody, if you're like me, I stumble at the very first place, which is choosing a domain name. So that usually holds me up, or finding one that's available.
Very true.
A little bit easier. We should just probably say that if you're getting a domain name and your business is just here in Australia, that you should just go for the .com.au. Is that your?
I would also recommend the .com as well, just because, well, one, it's cheap, but two, it just stops one of your competitors getting the .com and then stealing traffic away from your site. Because there's nothing to stop your direct competitor putting your company name .com and then taking traffic away from you. So I always recommend getting the two sets of domain names. You don't actually have to use the .com, but at least you own it, so no one else can.
Okay, and what about the .org, .net? Don't worry about those ones.
.org you can't get unless you're like a not-for-profit. .net, look, there was a really big case where a competitor basically did all the .net, the .com, the .co, all that sort of thing, and set up all of these landing pages that linked back to their site. If you can afford it, yeah, buy as many of the domains in your company name as possible. But it's your .com and your .com.au are your most critical ones.
Yep, so Greg asked, does .com require you to be an Australian registered business?
No, it doesn't. So anyone
can.
without an ABN, yes. Yeah, so anyone with, you don't need an ABN at all for a .com, but you do for a .com.au.
Okay, so hopefully that helped you out, Greg. If anybody's got any other questions, quickly type them in. Otherwise, I will wrap it up. And as I said, I'll be sending out an email shortly, just letting you know where you can get all those documents that we've talked about today. I want to thank you, Catherine and Nicola, for putting this together for us. It was a lot of work and a lot of screenshots, and I think it's really helpful if people are trying to work along and actually build it step by step, because I know it would have been helpful when I've tried to build ones in the past. So I thank you both, and if anybody's interested in the workshop that was mentioned, you can just email Catherine directly. I'll include her email address on the email I send out to you. So thank you everybody for joining us. Have a good morning or afternoon depending on where you are in Australia, and keep an eye out for our next webinars coming up. Thank you everyone.
Thanks, Kerry.
Thank you.